Takuma is a loser, avoided by all the girls for being a scary guy. However, his virginal life takes a turn when Odin himself chooses him to become a hero. Now he's forced to live with all his eccentric daughters and reference the right of the savior to give them strength. It all started at school when the girls in the class began talking about youth and love, and a popular blonde girl, Natsuki, became the center of attention. She casually mentions that she's not ready for a relationship, but then the conversation turns to her sisters, with some admiring Itsuyo, the leader of the student council group. Others prefer Mutsumi, the sweet, idol-like sister. Natsuki feels embarrassed listening to the boys gushing about them. Suddenly, one of her friends teases her by grabbing her breasts, but their fun ends when Takuma stands up, his overwhelming aura intimidating them like a dark, vengeful demon. He doesn't even need to say a word, and his mere presence sends one of the boys retreating through the window. The rest of the class freezes in fear, and even the teacher, known for being strict, cowers at the sight of Takuma standing in front of the door. Some students begin whispering wild rumors, claiming that Takuma is the reason for all the demon attacks in the city. One of Natsuki's friends warns her to stay away from demon-faced Takuma, and Natsuki looks on with a mixture of pity and uneasy agreement. When Itsuyo, the student council president furry, hears the gossip, her secretary, Matsumura, tells her that it's about Takuma. With the school festival approaching, people say he's a walking bad omen. Outside of school, Takuma always carries a book with him wherever he goes, and people assume it's some kind of dark spell book, when in reality he's just studying. It saddens him to be labeled a demon when, in reality, he's had that terrifying face since childhood and has never been able to control it. His aura terrifies people or provokes them into picking fights, forcing him to isolate himself and fear others because they fear him. Since his mother passed away, Takuma has lived alone in a large house for years. He heads to the shower only to find himself face to face with Natsuki, Itsuyo, and Mutsumi, creating an accidental fan service moment. And the image of these perfect sisters is suddenly shattered. Natsuki immediately throws a shampoo bottle at his face. As Takuma tries to escape, Itsuyo grabs his hand and presses herself mockingly against him, pleading with him to stay. Natsuki yells at her to stop, accusing her of showing off, and Itsuyo retorts that Natsuki is jealous of what she has in her suitcase. As they argue, Takuma tries to crawl out of the room, only to be stopped by Mutsumi. He ends up face to face with her small breasts before being slapped, which sends him flying straight into Natsuki, earning him a beating. Just then, more sisters appear, Misa and Yakumo. Misa greets him as if nothing happened. Takuma runs away, as he is not made for the chaos of having his house invaded by 9 strange sisters. He remembers how once, on the brink of death, Odin himself chose him as an Einherjar, saying it was necessary as the world teetered on the edge of chaos. Takuma, with his pure heart, has the power to fight back, and Odin entrusts his 9 daughters, the Valkyries, to support him, forcing him to live with them all. He even considers calling the police to reclaim his privacy. But suddenly, 2 more sisters, Futaba and Kururi, appear in his room. Futaba looks at him with sad eyes and asks if he's really going to call the police. She bows, sincerely thanking him for letting them stay and playing the victim card perfectly. This stirs Takuma's guilt, and he abandons the idea of evicting them. At dinner, the girls eat happily, while Takuma worries about his study schedule, since he can't concentrate around other people just casually walking around his house, and even seeing Natsuki walk by makes his stomach churn. Just then, Futaba appears and teases him about liking Natsuki, somehow managing to get them to study together. At school, Natsuki always seems calm and perfect, but up close, she constantly scolds him. Noticing his tense expression, Natsuki asks if being with her is really that awkward, and Takuma bluntly replies that it is. Natsuki glares at him and tells him to just start studying so he can finish quickly. Meanwhile, Itsuyo hates the idea and doesn't want Natsuki around Takuma all the time. Futaba and Misa try to reason with her, while Yakumo comments that Takuma doesn't seem motivated to help, but then Itsuyo says she still trusts her father's decision, even if Takuma is a bit odd. Behind a closed door, Takuma struggles with his sanity. He drops his eraser and tries to catch it, only to realize it's landed under Natsuki's skirt. Natsuki, lost in her math problems, suddenly looks down, just in time to see Takuma's face where it shouldn't be at all. She jumps up in a fury and asks him if he really wants to study or is just looking for a seafood feast. Takuma immediately straightens up. He swears he means business and tells Natsuki that he even promised her dead mother he would become a smart student and a respectable person. Just as things get awkward, Futaba enters and suggests they take a break and go get some snacks, but she orders them to hold hands while they do so. Takuma doesn't like the idea, but he goes along with it since he just wants to survive and get home quickly. As they walk, Natsuki asks him why he doesn't defend himself when people accuse him of being a demon, reminding him how he once saved her by putting himself in danger between her and a real demon. But Takuma expresses how useless it is, since everyone sees him as the devil's second coming. Just then, a huge demon appears nearby, wreaking havoc. Natsuki's powers awaken, and the demon is quickly camouflaged by one of the sisters' powers, so the humans can't see it. The others watch from home, hoping that Natsuki and Takuma can handle the situation. As they try to escape, the demon spots them. It twitches its tail, and Takuma leaps in front of Natsuki to protect her. That's when when she realizes Takuma hasn't changed, and even with his fear of people, he can't turn his back when someone needs help. Seeing his heroism, Natsuki decides to fight, so she strips naked, takes Takuma's hand, and kisses him. Natsuki transforms, fueled by intimacy, the most powerful force a Valkyrie can wield. It turns out that to awaken her full power, Takuma must go wild with them. After the fight, Natsuki tells Takuma that because of the promise he made to his late mother, being a hero is his destiny, and nothing is more respected than being one. Although Takuma has his doubts, Natsuki encourages him to give it his all. The next day, the girls arrive at school, graceful and charming. All the boys turn to look at them, completely captivated, until a boy who looks like Godzilla walks through the school gates. Even in the morning, Takuma's face is as terrifying as ever to everyone around him. But unbeknownst to them, the real reason he looks so stiff is that exam results are being announced today. In the student council room, Itsuyo is preparing documents with her fellow council member, Inukai. They need to get ready for the festival. Then, Matsumura chimes in, saying that everything Itsuyo touches turns out great. She ignores him, acknowledging the support she receives from the other students. Then, Inukai mentions the exam results. Itsuyo comes in first place as usual. Mutsumi comes in 30th, and Natsuki is too embarrassed to acknowledge her score. But when they look up Takuma's grades, he's in last place. So Natsuki and Mutsumi scold him, asking what happened. Takuma just sits there like a pufferfish, completely listless. He says that being around people increases his anxiety and overwhelms him, and he ends up messing up most of his answers. Natsuki, frustrated by his constant self-pity, immediately chokes him out and tells him to snap out of his depression. But instead of facing her, Takuma runs away. Mutsumi reminds Natsuki that they agreed not to talk about their fears, but Natsuki can't hold back, not when she knows how hard he's been studying. Then, over the school's loudspeaker, Takuma is called into an empty room. He braces himself for another scolding, but it's Itsuyo who appears in her chains, immobilizes him, and declares she wants a date. She says she needs to recharge for the upcoming battle, but Takuma, still sulking about his grades, says it's neither the time nor the place. Deep down, Itsuyo doesn't care about Takuma, and as long as he can empower her, she can finally gain recognition from her father, Odin, for being the best Valkyrie, and get pats on the head from Odin to appease his paternal needs. So she comes up with a list of ways to gain power on a lunch date, from shoulder massages to holding hands, or even just gazing into each other's eyes. Takuma's fear and anxiety stifle every attempt. Itsuyo runs out of patience and ideas, but before she can try anything new, the bell rings, and Takuma runs back to class. Later, in gym class, Itsuyo and Natsuki chat while changing. Natsuki says Itsuyo is rushing things, even though she always says they have plenty of time, and also tells her she's not the same crybaby she used to be. But just as she heads to the gym, a bubble demon appears in front of her. Natsuki rushes over, but Itsuyo says its chains are more effective than Natsuki's sword. As everyone gathers, a shield is raised around the demon, and they devise a plan where Natsuki distracts the demon while Itsuyo charges at Takuma so she can use her chains to bind him. Natsuki starts the fight with a kiss and transforms into her battle uniform, giving Itsuyo a chance for a private moment with Takuma, while poor Mutsumi is left behind for being useless. Then, in their private space, Itsuyo actually tries to get intimate with Takuma, and she's ready to go for it. Their plans move forward right there in the warehouse, but just as Takuma prepares to, without the courage to respond, Itsuyo flinches and slaps him hard, unable to help herself. Deep down, still frightened, her eyes fill with tears. Takuma understands and doesn't try to force anything, but remembering what his mother used to do when she cried, he gently strokes Itsuyo's head. For Itsuyo, it brings back memories of when Odin used to do the same, and that simple, gentle gesture gives her strength. She then kisses Takuma on the cheek, and her power activates. She rushes into battle, pulls Natsuki out of danger, and the two sisters work together to defeat the demon with their powers. After the fight, Itsuyo apologizes to the student council members for disappearing, but the other members say it's fine since Matsumura already reported the incident, and no students were injured. Even so, Matsumura blames Takuma for the demon's appearance, as it's a bad omen. Itsuyo immediately deactivates him and takes the rest of the council with her, leaving Natsuki alone with Takuma. Natsuki points out how Takuma is becoming more comfortable around Itsuyo, and how that's a good thing, as he's slowly learning to control his fear of humans. Then, Inukai arrives to escort them back to class, but behind his refined smile and elegant face, Inukai is no ordinary student. He's a demon on a mission to keep a close eye on the hero, Takuma. A few days later, Mutsumi lands a job in advertising, and the director praises her natural beauty and perfectly sculpted figure. After a quick shower, she realizes how busy she's been these past few days, and a touch of envy creeps in, as while her other sisters spend more time with Takuma, she hasn't had her chance yet. Meanwhile, Natsuki, being the strongest among them, is busy fighting demons with Takuma, while the others hang out near the food stalls. Futaba points out that demon appearances are becoming more frequent, and everyone needs to focus and level up, as they can't leave everything to Natsuki and Itsuyo. First up is Mutsumi. She finally gets her date with Takuma, and she's so ready that her mind is already in Delulu mode, imagining the perfect scene. But one of her classmates appears in the booth behind them, loudly bragging about being a close friend of Mutsumi's, which he obviously isn't. He then tries to act familiar with Takuma as well, claiming that he's some kind of gangster with deep family issues and a nine-tailed fox hidden inside. He doesn't even notice that Takuma is sitting right behind him until he leans back and glares at him with that sharp, deadly stare. The guy immediately panics like a rabid dog and jumps out of the cafe window, completely terrified, but the other customers assume Takuma kicked him out. Mutsumi refuses to let her date be ruined by some idiot, so she asks Takuma where he wants to go, and he says to the bookstore. Mutsumi can't even get angry. Instead, she's amazed by his dedication and drive. It reminds her of a time when she, too, was attacked by a demon, and that experience left her anxious and scared, just like Takuma. Back then, she was with Itsuyo, and it was Natsuki who came to their rescue. Because of that incident, Itsuyo and Natsuki were very close as children, but now they're like cats and dogs. Mutsumi tells Takuma to control her nerves at that time. Her other sisters forced her to work as an idol or model. Takuma can't even imagine being in her shoes, but Mutsumi says she was scared at first too. But she's happy to be doing it, since it helps her family financially and builds her confidence through her fans. The support helps her grow stronger. Hearing that, Takuma suddenly falls silent. It reminds him of his own past bullying and the loss of his mother. He's quiet for a moment, then leaves to pay for his book without another word. But beneath that terrifying face and stoic shell, Mutsumi senses something familiar, an aura similar to the demon that attacked her years ago. Only this time she isn't afraid, but instead, her knees are weakening for an even stranger reason. After buying the book, Takuma says he wants to go home so he can study. Mutsumi, realizing she's just been rejected, only finds herself increasingly drawn to him. Meanwhile, Inukai watches from a distance, keeping a close eye on the two, as his mission is to ensure none of the girls reach Takuma's level. It's then that he has an idea. He summons a small demon, the Snitch, to announce Mutsumi's presence through a loudspeaker, drawing the attention of everyone nearby. Mutsumi panics. Her identity is at risk, and the date is ruined. Takuma, equally averse to crowds, immediately grabs her hand and they run off. They hide in a nearby storage room and squeeze into an old wardrobe in the corner, forced to share breath, their bodies pressed together like two rats stuck together in glue. In that tense moment, Mutsumi's imagination runs wild. She imagines all sorts of ways Takuma could further his plans. Her delirium is briefly cut short when Takuma asks if she has any ideas about how to escape. An idea occurs to her: to use her powers. Since her power is wings, she can get them both out of there. But first, she needs a kiss. Seeing an opportunity in the chaos, Mutsumi decides to act. She kisses Takuma's chest, his body warming from the closeness, and the excitement of his fans still searching outside only intensifies the moment. Reaching her full potential, Mutsumi grows stronger. She transforms into her Valkyrie uniform and spreads her newly awakened wings. With a swift flight, she carries them both to safety, soaring into the sunset sky. Takuma is stunned as the moment reminds him of the time he spent with his mother. Mutsumi, proud of her newfound strength, says she's happy with how the date turned out. It worked out after all. Watching them from a distance is a woman who follows them, who turns out to be the eldest sister, Ichika, who still refuses to acknowledge Takuma's presence and only follows him as his guardian from the shadows. Futaba invites her to the upcoming school festival, and Ichika accepts but makes it clear that it's not because of Takuma. Meanwhile, Inukai is furious that his plan has failed. He sulks to himself, chewing on a hamburger while talking to his master, a high-ranking demon who orders Takuma's elimination. Inukai mutters that the school festival will be the perfect time for his next move, since, after all the sisters will be there. A few days later, the girls stay home while Takuma takes an extra test. But when he returns, he looks completely exhausted, worn down by his fear of being around people. Once again, he can't answer most of the questions correctly, even though he knows all the answers. Seeing him like this gives Misa an idea, and she suggests playing tag. Takuma immediately says no, since he wants to study. But then Kururi gets angry because Takuma never wants to play with her. Misa adds that she needs some exercise, since she's been feeling a little chubby lately. Takuma realizes that if he doesn't join the game, the girls will keep interrupting his precious study time. So, with a heavy heart, he agrees. Futaba is chosen to be the one, but the moment she puts on the glasses and her face turns serious, everyone trembles and the rules instantly change. Everyone has to play, and if they get caught, their underwear gets covered in yu-yu. Everyone gets ready, and Takuma tries to sneak off, hoping to hide and study. But as soon as he opens the bathroom door, he finds Misa and Itsuyo in the middle of changing. Surprised, he tries to run, but Misa stops him. She explains that this isn't a normal game, and that Futaba takes it way too seriously. Even with just her level 1 power, she can easily snatch anyone's underwear. So Misa tells Takuma to stay with Itsuyo for a while. Itsuyo suddenly mentions that she's been a good girl, keeping up with her studies and all her student council duties. Takuma doesn't understand at first, but when he does, he realizes she wants a pat on the head. When he gives her one, Itsuyo can't help but start purring for him. Meanwhile, from her vantage point, Misa senses Futaba approaching, and suddenly, Futaba bursts in. Misa and Itsuyo quickly rush to Takuma's defense, and somehow, he ends up in the best possible position in this crazy situation. Still confused, Takuma wonders why Futaba is so obsessed with stealing underwear. She dramatically quickly explains that underwear is one's last line of defense, and losing it is basically a death sentence. Takuma doesn't really follow the logic, and luckily Misa grabs him and throws him out the window, straight into the garden. He lands right on top of Yakumo, and in her usual deadpan tone, she calls him a pervert. Then, Kururi and Natsuki appear shortly after. Natsuki points out that they need a real strategy if they want to avoid being eliminated by Futaba, who is forced to go second for this game. Natsuki informs Takuma that Futaba's power is to summon the walls of Asgard, and that she could even summon the entire castle at its full potential. Just then, after defeating Misa and Itsuyo, Futaba goes after Natsuki and Yakumo. Takuma, now completely lost, decides to run and hide in the storeroom, only to find it already occupied by Shino. Surrounded by her books, she calmly greets him and tells him to stop being a coward. Just then, Natsuki crashes into her back, having been captured as well. Then, Futaba enters with a wild look in her eyes, aiming directly for Takuma's underwear. But before she can reach him, he suddenly stops and hands her a lucky charm. The girls reveal that it was all an act, and that they only wanted to help Takuma relax and stop stressing about his exams. Natsuki, acting like a tsundere, mutters that it's her way of thanking him for always putting up with them. That night, the girls share a bath together, hoping that Takuma will get rid of that charm. As for Takuma, he goes back to praying to his mother, half complaining about the girls and their lack of privacy, but silently grateful for a gift he hasn't received in a long time. Later that night, with everyone gathered in one room, the girls receive a warning from their father, Odin, that a demon might appear during the upcoming school festival. Misa asks Itsuyo, Mutsumi, and Natsuki if they suspect anyone, but none of them have any leads. Futaba warns them to be on their guard, as there might be an imposter hiding among the students. However, Natsuki really wants the festival to go well, especially since she's excited about her class project, a maid cafe. She assumes Takuma doesn't care about the event, but to her surprise, he does. Not the festival itself, but he's excited to have the whole classroom to himself while everyone else is outside. The next day, Natsuki tries to get his attention by cleaning windows and behaving herself perfectly. But, as always, Takuma was glued to his books. Instead, an unknown boy from the class compliments her, but Natsuki doesn't even hear him, as she's too caught up in a spiral, thinking about how Takuma has completely lost interest in her. Then one of her friends calls her to help with a modeling assignment for the class coffee test, and Inukai shows up as the examiner. Maintaining his princely act, Inukai mocks the flustered Natsuki while secretly fantasizing about devouring both her and Takuma. As part of the exam, Inukai deliberately pairs Takuma as the customer and Natsuki as the maid. Natsuki seizes the opportunity to win him over by acting sweetly, but it's the boys in the class who fall for her charm. She even brings him a parfait and tries adding whipped cream on top, only to ruin it by spilling it right on him, creating a total mess. Inukai seizes the opportunity and curses the jealous students, possessing their bodies with demons. Natsuki realizes this goes beyond what her father predicted, and without her Valkyrie uniform, she can't access her full power. The demons overwhelm her, and she begins to lose. But then Takuma rises and protects her. Seeing this, Inukai realizes something critical. Valkyries are powerless in their human forms. On the way home, Natsuki tells Takuma that he probably doesn't like her around him because she's not pretty enough for him. But Takuma tells her she is pretty, which makes her jump for a moment. But like a true tsundere, she's unwilling to admit it. Days later, the festival arrives, and everyone is busy with food stalls and class projects. Takuma somehow ends up on a date with Yakumo. But because Yakumo seems so expressionless, people start whispering, thinking maybe Takuma kidnapped her or blackmailed her into walking with him. Takuma thinks all he needs to do is smile and blend in until they reach a quieter place, but when he does, it looks like the Joker is having a stroke. Yakumo, on the other hand, just wants the date to be over as soon as possible. Natsuki's maid cafe. There, Takuma ends up agreeing with everything Yakumo says, while she casually passes all the decisions off to him. Natsuki, trying to help these two awkward souls, offers them a couple of specialty drinks. Yakumo simply declines, but then she does a complete about-face and decides that Takuma should drink from her hand. She's that kind of guy. Takuma goes along with it and drinks from her hand while Yakumo watches with a certain amount of pleasure. But then, Takuma trips, slips, and somehow falls face first into Yakumo's ample bosom. She's clearly enjoying toying with him, but Natsuki's had enough. She storms in, berating Yakumo and rolling her around like a spring roll. The other girls appear and act as if it's perfectly normal to be hanging around Takuma, but the crowd is convinced that Takuma must have brainwashed these girls or something. That's when Futaba suggests that Takuma and Natsuki should dance at the after party. Natsuki hesitates, awkwardly suggesting that maybe someone else could, but the other girls agree that she's the one who should do it. But Takuma, in typical Takuma fashion, says he doesn't want to dance, especially after the party when people get wild, and especially not with Natsuki, who's popular. That sentence hits Natsuki like a ton of bricks. She silently apologizes and heads to the back of the room. The other girls don't know whether they should be angry with Takuma or just feel bad for how clueless he is. Meanwhile, Natsuki is hurt, thinking that Takuma simply doesn't want to be with her. Futaba follows her and checks if she's okay. Natsuki says she is, but the opposite is written all over her face. Natsuki, Mutsumi, Mutsumi and Itsuyo appear. Natsuki gets angry because she never signed up for it, but she shifts the focus to Ichika. Futaba tells her she's nearby, and with so many humans crammed into the school, the chance of a demon showing up is high, so everyone needs to be on their guard. When it's Misa's turn to go on a date, she drags Takuma and Kururi to the haunted house. Inside, Takuma is more afraid of humans than ghosts, and Kururi thinks they're out to eat. Meanwhile, the ghosts are more afraid of Takuma than anyone else. Then, she tells Takuma that he can't keep apologizing for every little thing, as it makes him look weak. But she says he needs to apologize to Natsuki and figure out for himself what he did wrong. Then, one of the ghosts decides to mess with them and throws a live eel at the group. Kururi disappears in an instant, and Misa is left struggling with the eel as it slithers down her body. She calls out to Takuma for help, and when he does, it's his hands that end up slithering away. Finally, Takuma grabs the eel and takes off, throwing it into a small puddle in front of him. He stops there, staring at the water, thinking that all he ever wanted was a quiet place to study, not this chaos. While he's lost in thought, Inukai appears behind him and asks what he's doing. Takuma, even trembling, manages to talk to someone other than the girls, but as Inukai keeps his eye on Takuma, chaos erupts all around. The demonic attack begins, and Inukai has already cursed the visitors and students, turning many of them into possessed monsters. Suddenly, Inukai stabs Takuma in the stomach and drags him away, forcing the girls to fight without Takuma's power boost. Natsuki and Ichika hold the line at the door while the others focus on distracting the larger demon. In a hidden room, Inukai watches the fight unfold, enjoying his pile of fast food, while Takuma barely holds on, bleeding profusely, and she toys with him like a rag doll. Outside, the girls struggle. Their clothes are torn, their bodies shaken as the demons overpower them. Ichika notices that the demons are still strong, meaning Takuma hasn't yet defeated the main one, but Natsuki doesn't give up, still believing in him. Back in the room, Takuma collapses, his vision blurring until he sees the lucky charm the girls gave him. He remembers how he returned it to Natsuki the other day, thinking she needed it more than he did, since he didn't believe he was strong enough to keep it. Natsuki agrees he's weak, but she reminds him that he's also the one who saved her twice. That memory is enough for him, and Takuma regains his strength and gets up. He continues fighting Inukai, and even if he's knocked down again, he fights back. And just then, Futaba finds him just in time, since Ichika suspected Inukai from the start, and now she's been proven right. Inukai tries to play innocent, but Futaba doesn't believe him and punches him squarely in the stomach. Inukai is life for what he did. Futaba quickly summons a wall between them and tells Takuma to run, as she'll hold Inukai off as best she can. But it's difficult for Takuma, since he's been scarred by Inukai's knife attack. So the moment Takuma leaves the room, Inukai's claws stab him again, tearing his flesh like a twisted ice cream cone. However, the plot armor kicks in, and the girl's amulet activates, saving his life. Inukai watches in disbelief just before Futaba launches another attack. It turns out the amulet is made from mistletoe berries of the Yggdrasil tree, imbued with protective magic, but it only works because Takuma's own power awakens to activate it. Now running for his life, Takuma dodges attacks left and right, but his will to survive and return to the girls is stronger than his fear. He remembers how his mother used to tell him that one day he would have friends who wouldn't be afraid of him, and now those people are the girls waiting for him. When he finally reaches Natsuki, she hits him for taking too long, but deep down, she's just worried. Now, for Natsuki to unleash her full power, it will take more than a simple kiss. They have to be physically connected, skin to skin. First, Natsuki suggests cleaning up together since they're a complete mess, and Takuma agrees. Outside, Mutsumi is already reaching her limit. Yakumo gives her a quick power boost with his flute, just enough to clear a path. But Takuma and Natsuki's wait is becoming far too long. Itsuyo is nearly caught by a demon, but Misa intervenes just in time to save her. Even so, Itsuyo's hand is cursed and now moves on its own. Misa's final move is a barrier of thread, enveloping them both for protection. Meanwhile, Takuma and Natsuki go far beyond a simple kiss, and during that intense moment, Takuma unleashes his true power. A magical book materializes in his hands, and he uses it to instantly heal Natsuki. She emerges in full strength, shining brighter than ever, and charges headlong into the enormous demon. Meanwhile, Futaba and Inukai continue their fierce battle, throwing everything they have at each other. Inukai sneers, asking why she's going to such lengths to protect the human world, which is a disgrace to holy beings. But Futaba isn't fighting for that reason. She's fighting because he hurt her sisters, and because Inukai and the other demons are only preparing for a much larger war. That statement makes Inukai flinch slightly, and at that moment, two arrows are shot toward Futaba. She catches them in midair, but that gives Inukai the opportunity to vanish. Back on the battlefield, Natsuki makes her final move. With her prayer and technique, she finishes off the demon. As for Inukai, his master drags him back, and he now realizes that Takuma is a true threat. With the battle over, everything returns to normal. The students and visitors wake up, and the festival continues. Next comes the beauty pageant. The three sisters compete, and Mutsumi wins thanks to her huge fan base. At the dance party, Natsuki is still uncomfortable about the kiss they shared, and she's also still upset about how Takuma said he didn't want to dance with her. But then Takuma approaches her and says he just wants to thank her. He'd miss misunderstood, thinking she only wanted to dance with him to help him with his fears, so he rejected her. Natsuki lets out a long sigh at how clueless he is and tells him that's not it. Then she quickly kisses him and says she wants to dance because she wants to dance. With that, she asks Takuma to work hard alongside the girls because the demons will keep coming, and they have to protect everyone. The night after the festival, Takuma gets up to get some water and notices the girls are still awake, simply resting on the kotatsu. Takuma casually asks if today isn't a date night, and Misa teases him for being the first to bring it up. Mutsumi and Itsuyo immediately chime in, asking if he's serious about going out. Natsuki quickly silences them, but Kururi intervenes and puts an end to the general commotion, as she has just finished working on a medical team. He explains that it's designed to treat them properly, and it's all at Futaba's request, as the demon attacks are becoming more frequent. Proper treatment is essential, and Takuma is their doctor. Misa immediately rejects the idea, refusing to let Takuma touch her, and the others aren't particularly enthusiastic either. But for the first time, Takuma agrees to go along with it, having already accepted his fate as the girl's companion, and still feeling guilty after yesterday's battle. First up is Futaba. The headband scanner displays her health status, showing where she hurts and what needs treatment. Takuma grabs the stethoscope to check her heartbeat, but Futaba brazenly lifts her clothing, revealing her soft, bouncy body parts to him, and Takuma places the stethoscope in the wrong spot. Futaba casually corrects him, and embarrassed, Takuma blurts out a random math problem to mask his panic. Second is Misa. She immediately rejects this Johnny Sins style role-playing game and gets up to leave, but Takuma grabs her pants and instead of stopping her, he accidentally pulls them down. After a brief argument, Misa reluctantly agrees to let him apply a special healing oil that Kururi prepared. She lies down barefoot, and Takuma applies the oil, which is a dangerously sweet torture for him. Third is Itsuyo. At first, she seems confident until the scanner indicates she needs a urinary checkup. She blushes instantly, as the mere thought of Takuma examining her is too much. She runs away, completely embarrassed. Fourth is Mutsumi, who needs her mouth checked, but at some point she gets too excited and runs out of the room before it's finished. The fifth one is Natsuki. Takuma has to measure her sizes. Natsuki initially refuses to undress, but eventually decides to stay in her underwear, which has a bear on the chest. Takuma says they look cute, which makes Natsuki blush, especially since she changed them on purpose. However, Takuma persists with something that hits a nerve, and she slaps him and storms off. The sixth is Yakumo, who needs a temperature check, but this little domineering, crazy demon decides to tease Takuma, toying with his innocence until he's the one who runs away this time. Finally, it's Kururi's turn. She scolds Takuma for failing at every treatment, because all the girls ran away before they finished, so she decides to show him how it's done. Kururi activates a Super Saiyan mode that allows Takuma to treat multiple people at once, but the surge overwhelms the system and breaks the equipment, making him realize he needs materials from Asgard. As Takuma tries to remove his lab coat, it sticks to him. Realizing it's about to explode, he dives into the backyard just in time, right before it goes off, and at the end of the night, it's Takuma who ends up devastated. The next morning, when Misa wakes up, she finds Itsuyo feeding Takuma breakfast, but when he gets to the second course, he throws up and runs away. Misa laughs at him and tells Itsuyo to slow down. Then, Itsuyo asks Misa about dating, since Misa is older, but to her disappointment, Misa has no experience, as when they were younger, Misa trained with the older kids, or looked after the younger ones. So she tells Itsuyo that dating is something she has to experience for herself. Even so, Itsuyo gives her a tearful look, saying she couldn't do anything for Takuma during the festival, and Misa is smitten, so she agrees to help. She takes Takuma with her to do some chores around the house, while Itsuyo secretly watches and takes notes from behind the door. They start by folding laundry, and everything goes well until it's time for underwear when Takuma gets flustered. Misa, who is working on a large plush toy for Natsuki, notices that he's having trouble staying focused and begins to feel a little bad for him for being so easily excited. When his yarn runs out, he reaches for more, stored at the top of the cupboard, but as he reaches for it, Takuma, sitting nearby, sees something very clearly that he shouldn't have. Then, suddenly, the knitting box falls on his head, and when Misa bends down to look at him, he accidentally catches another glimpse of his precious twins. Unable to control this domino effect, Takuma gets up to leave the room, but Misa grabs his arm, inadvertently pressing it against her breasts. Takuma points out their predicament, and Misa quickly turns away, apologizing, albeit nervously. She avoids eye contact, focusing again on her otherwise normal-looking wrist, while Takuma finishes folding the rest of the laundry. But in her mind, she's spiraling around at 1,000 thoughts per second, and she doesn't realize her threads are getting tangled. Then Takuma calls her from behind, and Misa jumps in surprise, trips, and falls right on top of him, her soft vanilla. The twins front and center. The other girls try to get a look at the situation, but Itsuyo keeps them at bay. Finally, Misa straightens her clothes, and Takuma carefully folds everything. Takuma says he's gotten used to housework since he's been living alone in that big house since his mother passed away. That's when Misa truly understands, and as a thank you, gives him a keychain, a small, heartfelt gift. The next day, a package arrives from the girl's father, Odin, filled with food, supplies, and another warning about possible demonic activity. After the intense battle during the festival, Futaba asks Natsuki if she can put on her Valkyrie uniform as she needs to check something. Natsuki complies and, as usual, kisses Takuma to trigger the transformation, but this time, nothing happens. Even after a more passionate kiss, the transformation still doesn't activate, and Futaba has a strong suspicion about this. Meanwhile, Itsuyo and Mutsumi are complaining about something entirely different. How dare Natsuki kiss Takuma like that? Futaba asks Kururi to show her the graph that monitors her strength parameters, and the data confirms her suspicion that Natsuki's energy is completely depleted. To prepare for the next fight, the responsibility falls on Mutsumi and Yakumo. Since fighters like Natsuki and Itsuyo need a little recharge, the next day, while Mutsumi has a photo shoot, Takuma and Yakumo go on a date. They accompany Mutsumi to a park and sit together, holding hands to help Yakumo recharge. Although technically alone, they are still in public, and feeling nervous, Takuma asks if he can have a sip of her drink. She responds with her usual sharp tongue, practically calling him a pervert for wanting to drink her saliva. Meanwhile, the others watch from a distance, and Itsuyo is worried about how Takuma and Yakumo will get along. Natsuki remains calm, but her concern is also evident. The night before, she went to see Takuma, and he admitted that Yakumo's intimidating aura genuinely frightens him. Natsuki explains that it's not that Yakumo hates him, but rather his racing heartbeat, as it's too loud for her. She explains that just as Misa has hypersensitive skin, Yakumo has very sensitive hearing, which is why he always wears headphones to block out overwhelming noise, and Takuma's frantic heartbeat is too intense for her to ignore. So now, Takuma does everything he can to stay calm, but no matter how hard he tries, his heart beats rapidly, and Yakumo is becoming increasingly restless. Takuma's classmates appears nearby, curiously examining Mutsumi's photo. Startled, Takuma instinctively lets go of Yakumo's hand, interrupting the energy recharge, and they have to start over. Yakumo bluntly tells him to completely stop his heartbeat, as it's still too strong, and she wonders aloud why her father chose such a cowardly man. She then reminds him of his healing abilities and tells him to focus on healing Natsuki and recharging his powers. However, he sheepishly admits that he still can't activate his power at will, and Yakumo calls him a coward. Later, when Mutsumi finishes her session and takes a short break, Yakumo has an idea. He takes Takuma to Mutsumi's trailer and suggests a private photo shoot with Mutsumi in a swimsuit. Mutsumi notices the serious look on Takuma's face and agrees, seeing it as an opportunity for him to level up. However, wanting to spice things up, Yakumo, ever the little devil, teases Mutsumi by letting her guard down, claiming it's for stimulation. He even pulls out a lollipop, and the two of them give Takuma a show no one will ever forget. Meanwhile, outside the trailer, a massive demon appears and attacks. Takuma's classmates, Ichika and Futaba, quickly intervene, keeping the demon occupied until Mutsumi and Yakumo are ready. Inside, Mutsumi sees what's happening and knows her time is up. Yakumo prepares to transform. They kiss, and Mutsumi overcomes her shyness and joins her. The two transform into their Valkyrie forms, and fighting the demon becomes a battle of speed between them. Mutsumi flies swiftly and nimbly, while Yakumo uses her voice to slow the demon's movements. Yakumo also struggles through all the noise around her, but senses an attack from below just in time. Meanwhile, Takuma has his own problem, as he still can't awaken his power. Suddenly, an arrow strikes the demon and it explodes, but instead of dying, the monster grows even larger as if it had received more power. It is then that Yakumo remembers what Futaba said about mistletoe, the same material used in the lucky charm Takuma wears. Back at the festival, the charm only works because his energy activates it, and without his own power, the charm is just an ordinary tree branch. Futaba once apologized for putting such a burden on Takuma, but he is the only one who can heal his sisters. Then, Takuma stands up, and finally, his power awakens. Instantly, the girl's energy counterattacks and easily defeats the demon. Meanwhile, the one who shot the arrow earlier watches from afar, observing closely Takuma and his power. Now he realizes that his own power cannot defeat the girls, and Takuma, as they have become stronger at this point, makes his next move and calls one of the elders, Princess Scold of the demons. Back with Takuma, Natsuki scolds him for fighting recklessly, but she also praises him. Just then, Yakumo enters with a drink for Takuma, but when he sees that Natsuki has already given him one, he turns around and starts hurling insults at him out of jealousy. Episode 9. Sometime later, Princess Scold arrives on Earth with her maid, and because of her appearance and dress, everyone turns heads, wondering which cosplay event they're attending. Elsewhere, Itsuyo heads to town because Misa asks her to buy some knitting supplies, and it's her first time riding a train. But before she can leave, the others ask her to recharge her energy. That's when Natsuki enters, pretending to be a creepy stranger harassing Itsuyo, only for Takuma to appear as her savior, as a kind of role-playing game in which Takuma has no say. But because of his overly serious expression, someone ends up calling the police who chase after him. Meanwhile, the girls are on the train, acting like they're from Alabama, doing their best, stepmothers and stepsisters from my favorite website, Proud. After Takuma clears up the misunderstanding with the police, he meets up with Itsuyo and Natsuki when they arrive, battling his own fear of crowds, but he makes his way through and finds Itsuyo. They complete the errand, errand. But Takuma trips and falls straight into Itsuyo's lap, clutching her precious reflection like a true stepbrother. It's all too much for Itsuyo, and she runs off, feeling everyone is too caught up in their schemes. Meanwhile, at the market, the Arrow Man uses hypnosis to manipulate vendors and passersby, getting everything he wants for free. Back at his place, he finds Inukai preparing a meal because Princess Scold is arriving, and he's about to take out the sweets he thinks she might like. But before he can, Scold has already taken them and suddenly appears, casually sitting on top of the drawer. Inukai talks a lot, joking about Scold's meanness, and that earned him an immediate beating from Scold's maid, Rufka. Scold gets straight to the point. He's there to destroy the Valkyries and take the mistletoe. Back with the trio on their way home, Natsuki suddenly freezes. She says it's cold. Suddenly, she asks Takuma if he's managed to control his power yet. Takuma tells her that he still can't activate his powers consistently, and Natsuki understands, knowing he's just a normal human. She changes the subject and asks him what's in the bag he's carrying. He shows her it's another book since they have an exam, but Natsuki completely forgets. Takuma gently chides her, saying she should take her studies more seriously. Trying to save face, Natsuki says she'll get serious and reveals that she even wears glasses now, just like Futaba. Then another cold breeze makes Natsuki sneeze, and Takuma instinctively grabs her hands to warm them. It's a sweet moment between them, but suddenly, Natsuki senses something approaching and immediately pushes Takuma aside. An attack erupts from nowhere, swift and merciless. The enemy's movements surpass anything she's ever faced. Natsuki can barely keep up. When the storm subsides, it's revealed that the attacker was Ichika, her older sister. Ichika wastes no time. She harshly reprimands Takuma for his lack of power and his inability to protect them. Takuma has no response and, like a scolded dog, lowers his gaze, mumbling a formal greeting. This only infuriates Ichika further, and she's seen it all from day one until now, and she's had enough. But the moment her sisters appear and greet her warmly, Ichika drops her terrifying gangster act and becomes a walking bubble of sweetness. Takuma tries to slip away during this sudden mood swing, but Ichika throws her spear to block his path as she's not finished with him. Futaba explains that Ichika is there because Natsuki is still too weak, so Ichika will step in to fulfill her role. But since Ichika is still level 1, whether she likes it or not, she still needs Takuma to further her plans to level up. They start with the simplest bonding exercise, taking a bath together, and Ichika couldn't care less. Her only concern is Takuma's ability, and she demands that he activate his power right now this very instant. He tries, but nothing happens, so Ichika changes the subject. She asks how Takuma truly feels about his sisters because she's convinced he doesn't take his role seriously. With a trembling voice, Takuma replies that he's grateful they've stayed by his side, even though he keeps making mistakes. However, Ichika isn't impressed and calls his response pathetic. She bluntly tells him that the only way the girls can unleash their full potential is if he truly falls in love with them, and right now his love is weak because he can't even handle two. So she challenges him to fall in love with them. Just as things get intense, Natsuki and Yakumo enter. They explain that Futaba was worried Ichika was having trouble connecting with Takuma, so they were sent to join them in the bath as well. In another room, Kururi asks Misa about Ichika's abilities, and Misa explains that Ichika is the strongest among them. Mutsumi adds that her unique power makes her capable of fighting even higher gods. While Yakumo's sensitivity lies in his hearing, Ichika's is in her skin, as she can detect enemies through it, even to a degree that makes her formidable. Kururi asks if Ichika would be alright if Takuma washed her back, and back in the bath, Ichika's body and ego struggle to deny that Takuma is softer than butter. Takuma's back. She doesn't do it the normal way, and instead rubs her entire body against him. Both Takuma and Natsuki scream in shock, and Ichika casually explains that Yakumo told her to do it that way. Ichika carries on, trying to pretend everything is normal, but her heightened senses are driving her crazy. Natsuki notices she's getting a little jealous and teases Yakumo just to get a reaction. Yakumo tells Natsuki she should stop hiding her feelings and just confess them, as Takuma might feel the same way. Completely flustered, Natsuki pulls Yakumo out of the bath, only for Ichika to accidentally kiss Takuma in the chaos and complete their bonding task, even if it doesn't go as Ichika planned. Later that night, everyone takes turns bathing and resting. Takuma then asks Futaba why the Valkyries need to rest, and Futaba explains that while it's true the Valkyries have strong souls, they aren't as powerful as the goddesses above them, and that's why evil deities seek to claim their souls. Meanwhile, Scold is already preparing to attack Takuma and the girls, and Inukai shows her the way to Takuma's house. There, Rasfaka scolds Inukai for being useless, since, because she failed to eliminate Takuma, Scold now has to handle everything herself. Inukai becomes enraged, unleashing her wild energy and yelling at Rasfaka for disrespecting her, but they both freeze the moment Scold turns around and glares at them. Inukai still vividly remembers how he cut through Takuma like a cake, but thanks to the mistletoe, Takuma gains powerful protection. But that power is exactly what Scold wants, since such power shouldn't belong to a mere human. Suddenly, as the three are engrossed in their twisted schemes, Ichika casually appears as if joining a group chat and says she actually agrees with them. The three are stunned, and Ichika admits she's surprised by how much more sensitive she's become after receiving a power boost from Takuma. But that's that's not the point. She remains calm and politely tells Scold and the others to leave the human world. Scold laughs at her, thinking Ichika is being ridiculous, but Ichika knows her true motives. She wants to eliminate the Valkyries, steal the mistletoe, and destroy the human world, which would destabilize the balance between worlds and even threaten Asgard itself. Enraged, Scold orders Rufka and Inukai to attack Ichika, but Ichika doesn't even flinch, and in an instant she throws Inukai to the ground for what he did to her sister at the festival. Then she turns and points her spear at Rufka's neck. From afar, the man with the arrow, Ularo, watches everything unfold and knows it's best not to approach at this moment. Ichika, still calm, urges Scold to back down, but the spoiled little princess refuses, especially not without Rufka. Ichika also senses Uller nearby and is already preparing for the ambush, but Uller suddenly attacks a human passerby, forcing Ichika to abandon her position to save him. This gives Scold the opportunity to contact Rasvaka and unleash his curse. Scold draws power from Rasvaka and summons high-level demons all at once. Moments later, the other sisters arrive. Itsuyo traps a demon with her chains, and Natsuki and Takuma also appear. Takuma counts the demon eggs and sees that they are outnumbered, with Ichika's boost not lasting long and Natsuki unable to boost. They realize they are in trouble, but before the fight can escalate, Scold calls it off. She realizes she's cornered. Rasvaka is exhausted, Inukai is completely useless, and the numbers are against her. So Scold retreats. The next morning, Natsuki brings breakfast to the warehouse where the mysterious Shino has been recovering. Thanks to their shield, they've managed to stay safe from the recent attacks. Shino hears Ichika yelling at Takuma every day through the wall, and Natsuki explains that he still can't control his power, despite having accidentally performed amazing feats before. Shino easily senses Natsuki's feelings just from how worried she looks. Meanwhile, Ichika continues her power-ups with Takuma, but her stats barely budge, and she still hasn't leveled up. Mutsumi compares her to Natsuki, but Yakumo just says Natsuki was easy, and Futaba explains that it's because Ichika hasn't accepted Takuma yet. Ichika denies it, but when Misa pressures her to admit it, she breaks down. Later that day, Ichika gets another bonding boost while shopping with Takuma. She proudly shows off a new book she bought titled How to Become Stronger Just by Reading This, and Misa tells her she's been scammed. Later, the girls gather to discuss Scold's future attacks, and Ichika is still fixated on the fact that she was tricked by a damn book. Meanwhile, Natsuki is having her own emotional breakdown. Takuma isn't commenting on what he bought earlier, and now she's spiraling into wondering if he's secretly reading weird books. Too distracted, she accidentally drinks one of Kururi's modified potions, and now she's drunk. Takuma hears the commotion and goes to check on her, and as soon as he enters, Natsuki jumps up at him, spouting nonsense. Futaba sees the chaos and tells Takuma to just take Natsuki back to her room. In her drunken state, she becomes incredibly clingy. She asks Takuma to help her undress, and questions why he isn't flustered by her, or if he prefers larger sizes. This barrage of words terrifies Takuma, but then she pins him down, trying to seduce him. However, Takuma can only think of Ichika's terrifying face, so he panics, shoves Natsuki away from him, and crashes into the bookshelf. The shock snaps her back to reality, and she vaguely remembers her strange behavior. Takuma spots the dating guide he bought nearby and tries to grab it before Natsuki notices, but she sees him. Takuma explains that he actually bought it because of what Ichika said, that he wasn't serious enough. Natsuki apologizes for getting drunk and acting jealous. Then she remembers what Yakumo said about being honest about her feelings, so she tries to confess them to him, but Takuma interrupts her. He asks if she's ever been in love since he doesn't even know what love is, and all he understands is responsibility. That hits Natsuki like a ton of bricks. She's furious. After all her hints about her feelings, Takuma is still a clueless fool. Natsuki then explains that she loves someone so stupid he can't even recognize her feelings, or maybe he doesn't feel anything for her at all, but still, she tells Takuma that she'll wait until he notices her and that she loves him too. Takuma says he's impressed by her courage and that he'll support her, which annoys her. Later that night, Scold has already prepared her demon army right in front of Takuma's house, ready to ambush him. What they don't know is that Takuma has already made preparations with the others. Futaba is the first to step forward, as she is the strength, and although she remembers her father once telling her she was weak, she remains the one on the front lines to protect her family. Before the attack, the big three, Ichika, Futaba, and Misa, meet privately. Ichika informs them that they cannot defeat Scold and his army, not with their current power levels, but the only path to victory is to defeat Scold's lover, Rasvaka. Once Rasvaka falls, they will have an opportunity to attack Scold from behind. Futaba adjusts the plan, pairing Ichika with Takuma due to his limitations in transforming when accessing full power. At that moment, Takuma enters and says he's ready to jump straight into the battle, but admits he's not sure he can pull it off. Ichika had anticipated this hesitation, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that Takuma is ready, because the demons are already outside her house. First, he gives Futaba all his power, as always, a skin-to-skin contact until they reach maximum energy dissipation. Now, with more power, Futaba charges forward and begins fighting the demons one by one. Scold taunts her, saying she isn't as strong as she claims, claims, but Futaba refuses to let those words affect her. She presses on, following the plan. Meanwhile, Ichika and Takuma run around circling. Takuma wonders why Futaba doesn't summon the fortress walls to fight alongside her, and Ichika explains that Futaba has the weakest soul among the sisters, and if her level were higher, she could summon all the fortress walls of Asgard. But at her current level, she can only summon the first line of defense, leaving Futaba with no choice but to fight hand to hand. However, because her eyesight is poor, she has mastered the use of her other senses and even trained with Thor himself. Across the battlefield, two drunken men are walking home when a demon attacks, only to be blocked by Shino, who uses his shield powers to save them. Natsuki is by Shino's side, who has already poured all her energy into protecting everyone nearby, even if it means sacrificing herself. Back at the front, Futaba faces a barrage of demonic attacks. Ichika prepares to ambush Scold from behind, while 4 demon eggs float around him. Ichika waits for the perfect moment, just as Scold's attention shifts to Futaba, but Takuma notices something is wrong and that there should be 5 demon eggs, not 4. Ichika tries to sense any hidden presence, but feels nothing. She doubts Takuma's count, but he insists he's right. Watching Futaba take blow after blow, Takuma feels helpless and wants to jump in, but Ichika holds him back until the right moment. Even as the demons scale the fortress walls, Ichika doesn't budge, letting Futaba push past her limits. But even under the curse, she keeps fighting, refusing to fall, especially when she sees the demons approaching her home. Scold grows irritated, but Futaba only mocks her further, taunting Rasvaka for still being unable to defeat her, no matter how strong he becomes. That's the last straw for Scold, for while she can endure being challenged, she won't tolerate disrespect toward her lover. Furious, Scold immediately sends the 4 demon eggs to Futaba. That's Ichika's signal, and she launches an attack on Scold from behind. Ichika draws her spear, one of the most feared weapons, one that even the gods know how to avoid. She attacks, but her spear still can't reach Scold's body. Before she can attempt another move, Ichika suddenly senses something, just as Takuma predicted. The 5th demon egg is still present, and it's inside Rasvaka. At that moment, Rasvaka begins to transform, revealing his demonic form. Takuma instinctively shields Ichika with his own body. With his cover blown, Rasvaka detects their location and gives chase. Takuma hides with Ichika in a nearby park, and he can see that she has lost her power. He knows he needs to do something, but he still can't activate his own. Ichika tells him to leave her alone since she knows she's weak and doesn't want her to get hurt. But Takuma refuses. Just then, he kisses her to give her the power boost she needs. He does his part correctly, and Ichika doesn't push him away. But just as the moment deepens, Rasvaka and Scold find them in the middle of an attack. Takuma manages to pull Ichika to safety, but another explosion sends them flying. They land entangled, still clinging to their moment of intimacy. Even though Takuma was stabbed in the waist, Ichika remembers a conversation she once had with her father, Odin, who asked her what kind of man she liked. Back then, young Ichika said she didn't care about her own type because he was already the man of her life, but she cared deeply for her sisters and wanted them to find someone kind, responsible, and determined. And now, she finally understands and finally fully accepts Takuma. A massive explosion erupts, and Ichika levels up to level 5, her energy returning in full force as Takuma activates his power. All because he truly loves them completely. Scold attempts to attack Takuma, knowing he has unlocked his healing powers and that Ichika can now fight tirelessly. But Ichika, using all her senses, stops the attack. She warns Scold not to underestimate her or her family, because this isn't the end. Meanwhile, Natsuki jumps on a bicycle and races to the battlefield. Takuma spots her and catches up just in time. He gives her the perfect energy boost, enough to transform into her Valkyrie uniform and join the fight. Scold realizes she's being cornered, so she summons all her demons to protect Rasvaka, but Futaba remains steadfast and warns that if Scold keep pressing, it's over. Rasvaka asks Scold to use his final technique, and Scold initially resists, but when Ichika launches another attack, he has no choice. He agrees to merge with Rasvaka and unleash his full power. Futaba quickly raises her fortress, while Ichika, Natsuki, and Takuma take up positions. The moment Scold reappears in his new monstrous form, Ichika and Natsuki attack, but even with their combined abilities, shield, fortress, spear, and swords, they can't hold their own. Scold's new form is too powerful. It shatters Futaba's fortress, bypasses Shino's shield, and knocks him unconscious. And for the first time, the world sees just how terrifying the strongest demons can be. Scold curses humanity and prepares to turn them into his army. Then he targets Ichika and Natsuki, and Takuma nearly loses his power from the pressure, but he refuses to back down. So he stands up and positions himself in front of Ichika and Natsuki, shielding them with his own body. At that moment, Rasvaka sees something in Takuma, a reflection of herself when she protected Scold as a child. That memory awakens something deep within her, causing a conflict between Scold and Rasvaka, and their fusion collapses. Ichika reaches their feet, and although her momentum is gone due to Scold and Rasvaka's weakened state, this is her chance. Rufka is on the verge of death, and Scold moves to protect her instantly. Ichika remembers her father's warning never to take a life, but after what they did, she's ready to make an exception. At that moment, Rufka looks up, and there's something broken in her eyes that stops Ichika in her tracks. It reminds reminds her of Shino. In that moment of hesitation, Scold grabs Rufka and escapes. The fight is over, and the firefighters arrive to deal with the aftermath. But in the chaos, Ular sneaks into their house and makes his move. He steals the mistletoe and corners the girls, and although Misa tries to protect them, she's already at her limit. Using the remaining power of Inukai, Ular traps Misa and stabs her, intending to finish her off. Misa bleeds out quickly, and the threads she's sewn into her own body try to heal her. Takuma uses his healing power relentlessly, but something is different, and Takuma says he can't sense her soul, unlike when he was healing others. Meanwhile, Misa awakens at the edge of the Tree of Life, knowing death is near, but Takuma refuses to give up. He ventures into the Soul Realm, searching for Misa with all his might. He lost his mother once, and he refuses to lose anyone else. And finally, he succeeds and brings Misa back to life. Misa apologizes, ashamed. She couldn't protect the mistletoe, but Ichika tells her it doesn't matter, because what matters is that she's alive. Futaba turns to Ichika and asks her what she thinks of Takuma now, after seeing him save Misa from the Soul Realm and Natsuki twice. Ichika still doesn't know why Odin chose him, but Futaba believes it was destiny, written from the day he saved Natsuki or even the day he lost his mother. Just then, Shino, the mysterious one, finally emerges fully recovered and introduces herself to Takuma, offering her help as the strongest Valkyrie. But upon seeing her, Takuma feels as though he's known her before. Days pass, and the group returns to school. People are still wary of Takuma, but he has changed and can now control his fear and anxiety. Then, with his fear gone, he finally passes the exam and achieves the highest possible score, just as he promised his mother so many years ago. Everyone congratulates him, for they all know how hard he has studied. When Takuma gets home, he knows exactly where the girls are. He opens the door and finds them changing. Without hesitation, he confesses that he loves them all equally. Natsuki blushes and throws a shampoo bottle at him, but they all realize that if he's serious about what he said, it means the competition is real, since each of them wants Takuma to love them more. After all, a Valkyrie's power is fueled by love, and what they all desire more than anything is to be truly loved.